You talking to me? You talking to me? Lisa DesRosiers.
Has anyone here received their notification letter yet? Have you? I bet you have. I don't know about you. And I know, well, no, I don't. What am I talking about? I am talking about that letter from hell that is certified and verified that you've begun to rustify. Yes, I'm talking about your application to join Club AARP. I got my letter a few years ago, and I have to tell you, it made me mad. I wanted to go all De Niro on it. What? You talking to me? I am not that old in my head. I'm like 19 or 20. I am strong. I am fast. And I'm almost as pretty as when I met my husband 33 years ago.
Cool.
But it started me thinking about aging when I got that letter and when I turned 50. I thought of my mom. When she turned 50, I thought she was a dinosaur, right out of Jurassic Park. I thought, oh my gosh, her life is just about over. And now that I've turned 50, I realize, no, I'm a classic. I am polished. I am smooth as glass. Things have changed, and my definition of old has changed too. Because the older I get, the older old becomes, so that eventually I will never be there. It also made me think, though, about growing up and how things have changed. When we grew up, things were seriously different, weren't they? I mean, the stuff my parents let us do would be illegal now. For example, when I was young, my parents let us ride our horses into the hills, the foothills north of San Francisco. Neither my sister nor I knew where we were going, how we were going to get home, or if we were going to get home. It was only because of the horses that we eventually made it home. The thing that makes this really scary is that I was 7 years old when I started doing this. And when we would go riding, I don't want you to picture us on on saddles, doing it all fancy. I grew up in a poor family. We didn't have hardly any money. One of our horses was a broodmare from the glue factory, and mine was a decrepit old cow pony that was well past her prime. These were old horses, but my sister and I didn't see that because we were Indian maidens riding through the wilderness, or we were cowgirls getting ready to ride with Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. To prove that we were able to do that stuff, I would do stuff like ride bareback on my horse with nothing but a leather thong for the bridle. I would stand up on her back and while she was walking. I was so ready for these things. But now when I look back on it, I would die rather than let my daughter do stuff like that. When we were riding up in the hills, we had a field next to us, and we had a track that went around, and we would race around that track. It had really cool places like Jesse James Graveyard and Dead Man's Curves. We would time each other, and we would take on anybody that dared compete with us. We were so into it that we got our horses kind of really into it. The problem with that is that the horses only wanted to stay into it. So then we had this new problem of the horses not wanting to get off the track. So we would make them do that, and in retribution, they would ride us through a barn to wipe us off. But that was okay, because that's how we learned how to ride hanging off the side of a horse. One time, one of my friends decided, she talked me into riding to a slough spillway. Because we went distances, so we went to the spillway. Essentially, it was a moss-covered, concrete, slimy ramp of death that ended into this vile green pool of slime. The guys we were with, they were tough, so they would slide down that ramp on their feet. I was smarter. I showed a little uncommon sense this time, and I went down on my bottom, which was great until the end of the day when I wore the bottom of my pants out. And I got to ride home with a raw bottom against a sweaty horse butt. That was fun. And my friend, she thought at the end of the day she was going to do it right. So she was going to get on her feet. She gets on her feet, slides about 2 feet, does a face plant, knocks her teeth out. Oh. That ended that adventure. My dad wasn't any help either about keeping us safe. He did fun stuff like have family walnut fights, usually after my sister and I were bored picking them up in the backyard. One of my dad's guiding principles was don't go soft on the kids, which meant for us that we had to either learn how to throw really well or get out of the way quickly. I was better at the second one, but my sister has this vivid memory of doing a running somersault and flinging a walnut at my dad on, well actually she was left-handed, flinging a walnut at my dad on her way back up. That's what we did for fun. We did a lot of driving too, because back then, no seat belts, no car seats, nothing. You were free to sleep in the back window of the car or stand up next to the driver. Sometimes if you were lucky, your dad would let you sit on the seat and you could drive too, weaving back and forth across the road. It was so much fun. But the best thing we ever did in the car was the days that we went to the dump. Because when we went to the dump, that meant my sister and I got to ride home in the back of that pickup truck, sticking our heads out the side like a couple hound dogs with their face in the wind. My dad would be weaving back and forth, sometimes quick, slamming us from side to side. We'd be laughing and giggling like it was a party. We were kind of stupid, but that was okay. The best part of the whole ride, though, we had a long driveway, and my dad would roar down that driveway, spin around a walnut tree, and my sister and I would be pinned next to the wall. It was all we could do to get out of the truck on our feet. Well, you can kind of see that I've somehow made it through my childhood into adulthood, and now thanks to AARP, I get to look at my golden years face to face. I don't think I'm going to be one of those seniors that's going to go quietly into the night. I got stuff to do. I'm going to be a grandma in 2 months. So, in a couple years, if you're driving down the road and you see the car ahead of you and it says, not so lean, not so mean, but still a Marine. That's probably me. You can feel free to pass, but now that you know how I learned to drive, I'd do it with caution.